to the Starcade Starcade Stories podcast. We are getting 2024 off on the right foot, and we are welcoming here Rob Vam Dam himself, one of my favorites of all time. Rob, welcome to the show. How you doing, sir?
Excellent, man. How about you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. I'll tell you, we actually met about a year ago, and we took the worst. This is no offense to my girlfriend. She took the worst photo ever. This was at the Golden Steer in Vegas.
Right.
The worst photo ever taken on a smartphone of us there.
Yeah, it's not too good.
I mean, you gave me the pose and everything, and yeah, well,
yeah, that looks like my collection from all the WWF house shows I went to as a kid. Remember when we had shitty little cameras like the Kodak disc, and even before that, and every picture looks like that. Had to tell everyone at school, that's Rick Rude.
That's you kissing the $1 Million Man's feet.
Yeah.
That was a great one. Rob, you grew up in Battle Creek, so you're like an hour from Ann Arbor. Are you a Michigan Wolverines fan at all? I mean, national champions?
Well, one of the things that makes me different and one of a kind is that I don't follow sports.
I figured this much, but I knew you got to know some people that are like overjoyed right now.
Well, yeah, and I've been asked that question recently. I did have a scholarship, which now I got to look into it because I was questioned on what kind of scholarship that was, and I realized I don't know very much about it. But when I graduated in Battle Creek, I had a scholarship to go to Michigan State, which my dad wanted me to proceed with, and I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to need that to be a pro wrestler. And I said, just give me 2 years. In 2 years, I'll know if this is going to work out for me or if it was a big mistake. I can still go to college. When I'm 20, I can still bang college chicks.
It all worked out in the end. And Rob, you just had a birthday not less than a month ago. 53, man.
Yes.
And let's face it. Best shape of your life, would you say, at 53?
Yeah, I would say prospectively, definitely, which sounds kind of cliche, but yeah, look at it. I've always kept the work for me has always been trying to be a big guy when I wasn't really a big guy. So my goal always was to keep my weight up. And I'm still not comfortable when my weight goes down. Like if I'm like 220, I'm like, okay, I got to start eating a little heavier. Most of my career, I was around 235, sometimes 240, 245, sometimes, 230, but always within 15, 20 pounds. And now I'm learning like it's so much easier to train my body to not need as much food than to try to consume all the time to keep everything up. And so, I'm not that much lighter, but I like the veins popping out and stuff and the quality that comes with it. So I always knew that the older I get, the more important certain things would become, like nutrition and diet, and I would learn more about that, which, you go through life and there's all kinds of stuff. Some subjects are kind of in the background, but you're interested in them. And then boom, if you live long enough, it's going to come around to your front burner and you're going to be like, this makes so much sense. Yeah.
Dude, I'm on like hour 70 right now of a 3-day, 72-hour water fast. Have you ever tried that? No,
I haven't. I have a lot of friends that have, and it sounds intriguing. I don't know if I don't have any. I don't think I'm going to do that, but maybe someday. But I'll fast for like 12 hours a day, like on a normal day, or maybe a little more, and then just try to, in the other part of the day, try to get 300 to 350 grams of protein in a day, and that's like a main thing. But I hear you release fucking your own stem cells eventually and all kinds of stuff. So you're on day 3, you said?
Like 2 hours to go. So I might pass out during this interview, but
how you
as
feeling?
long as actually really good. Like there's a ton of clarity that comes with it. Focus. Like I'm shocked that I'm not really that hungry. It's more just like your body starts like you get some like your hands kind of start shaking a little bit. Like there's some weirdness to it, but
yeah, that's another reason I probably shouldn't do it. I get hypoglycemic. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yes. blood sugar kind of stuff, and yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you
I,
told
yeah,
me the golden steer, which is like the best meal I've had in like years. So
yeah.
that's kind of food that we're putting down most of the time.
It was a mobster hangout back in the,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, right next door to that was where Tony Spilotro had the place where he allegedly sold all the stolen jewelry and stuff. In the movie Casino, they portrayed it.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called right now. The something gold. I don't know. I
Yeah,
see
and there's
that.
the Mob Museum. I actually, when I saw you at the poster, I just come from the Mob Museum downtown, which is
Oh,
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Do you like Vegas? I mean, my cousin lives there. I would make the move. I live in Kansas City, where it's 20 degrees and snowing right now. I might need to do Vegas.
The Savella crime family, by the way, ruled in
Yeah,
Las Vegas during that time. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm very. That's my go-to hobby is reading books and watching documentaries on on the mafia. And so like I have amassed, I probably forgot as half of what I've learned, but I have over the years amassed um, a wealth of useless knowledge of crime families all over the country, and it's fascinating. And I still, it's something that I do every day. And yes, I love living in Las Vegas, and I can tell you a lot about the history of it. That's part of why I was drawn to it, because I was really into Hollywood history when I was living in LA, because we did this movie Wrong Side of Town 2008, 2009, and we were at the original CBS studios, and I was learning about the history of that intersection on Sunset Boulevard, where there was studios
Oh,
all over the place back in the day. Anyway, that opened up this fascination with Hollywood history, and I like to get into the facts, the dates and stuff like that. And anyway, mobsters were part of the Hollywood history, and it moved over to Las Vegas, and so did my fascination, and then it kind of got into mobsters. There was a really big house by Lake Hollywood, underneath the Hollywood sign. A lot of people don't know there's a lake there. It's a man-made reservoir, but when you go
yeah.
up there, it's the coolest place in the whole city, and all these big houses are around the lake. And there was one 9-story castle. Madonna used to own it, but back in the day before her, Bugsy Siegel owned it. So that's part of the history. It's called a Castillo del Lago. You can look it up, Castle of the Lake, right? And anyway, Bugsy Siegel was there in the 30s, and then he came over to Vegas and was running the El Cortez, and then took the Flamingo over from Billy Wilkerson and opened it in 46, and gets credit for starting the whole Vegas dream, but it wasn't. He just came in, and there was already some hotels on the strip. I think the Flamingo was the third, and because it was El Rancho and Frontier, and then the Flamingo. And it wasn't even his idea. It was Billy Wilkerson's, who started the Hollywood Reporter,
Yep.
and also owned a bunch of nightclubs in LA, like Ciro's and Trocadero, and he was the man. He's an interesting guy, Billy Wilkerson. If you ever want a suggestion of reading about someone that doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, and I'm here in actually Kansas City, where I live, North Kansas City was like, if you do which like you do, there's a really good book about how, because in the movie Casino, Kansas City was like the midway point from the East Coast bosses to the Las Vegas bosses, like that were portrayed in the movie. So Kansas City was big into that too, because they got as far away as they could from the East Coast to the Midwest, right? That funneled things right to Vegas. So
Yeah.
how about it? Yeah, I grew up with a lot of Savellos, a lot of Orellos. All around here. I probably shouldn't mention their name here, but yeah, no, it's all good. Rob, you're obviously a huge proponent of cannabis. I think you're not disappointed right now. I think you have a joint in your hands right now, so you're on brand.
I'm working on one. Yeah,
you're on brand. So but my question to you is kind of goes deeper than that. You've talked about this, in lots of interviews, but do you feel like that and you've been a big proponent for legalization of marijuana, which is now legal here in Missouri? But do you feel like that just when it comes to the wrestling business, that had marijuana been legal in the 80s and 90s, that we would have fewer wrestler deaths and dependency on opioids?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any
Mm,
question about it. I think probably even most anti marijuana people would probably agree with that because
mm.
enough information is out there now to where I think that's common knowledge, but there's always going to be opposers, but absolutely. But
Yeah.
also, I think of that just like if slavery wasn't around back in the day, we wouldn't have had as many black lynchings. I just look at it
It
like
goes
that.
hand in hand. Yeah.
Well, it's like it's an ignorant, old school law that we need to move on past because it can help so many people. It was prohibited on nothing but lies, and all the information is out there. It was Harry Anslinger was the head of what would become the DEA. It was the FBN in the 30s, and he had a hard on for marijuana and made that his project and made took that movie Reefer Madness, that ridiculous movie, and campaigned with it, invited parents to schools, and nobody knew what marijuana was. And back then, they say it was mostly just black people in the jazz clubs and Mexican workers, and so they wanted to get rid of all of those because, of course, there's always racism when it comes to the good old boys. And besides that, the fact that the plant could replace like 90% of every other big conglomerate business. That's why it's prohibited because it hurts the sales of alcohol and
Yep.
cigarettes, and tobacco, and even textiles. And I used to think you could make shirts out of hemp. That was the first thing, but you can make almost anything with it. Jack Herer was a mentor of mine. Very fortunate to have because he's very important. He was the emperor. He was the one that was telling everybody about this back in the day. Over 5,000 uses for him. I mean, Henry Ford made a car out of hemp. And it was stronger than a normal car, and it weighed less, and it ran on hemp seed oil. He wanted us to be able to actually be able to take care of ourselves. And of course, that's not good for profits, for big businesses. But just learning all that really made me open up my mind to one, how the world really works, but also into not taking everything for granted that I'm told. They say believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. I definitely subscribe to that theory.
Well, yeah, I grew up scared of marijuana. It was like the most evil thing. And meanwhile, I had an
Me too.
uncle that was an alcoholic that was dying of alcoholism right before my eyes. And I thought, well, the beer, that's fine. But this marijuana stuff, oh my God, like
Uh,
I would never. So that's kind of goes into what you're saying about
so it's pretty crazy.
perpetuating the fear.
Yeah, and me too. I mean, I was taught it was a dangerous hallucinogenic, and by the way, it's still that they never changed the scheduling of it since back in the day when Richard Nixon, made this war on drugs and the Controlled Substance Act and list. Cannabis is a Schedule 1, which means the most dangerous of all the drugs with absolutely no medicinal benefits, regardless of all the states that have medical programs, regardless of the government having the patent and usage of was it Marinol? It's 100% THC pill they would give people like cancer patients, and regardless of them using it as medicine, it's listed there now in Schedule 1 along with heroin, along with acid, and then Schedule 2, which means safer for you and the community. Well, that's where you'll find what we think are harder drugs like cocaine and meth.
Right. What a world.
If people just don't care, it's one of those problems where it doesn't really affect them that much. People still think of it, even if they're learning that it's not as dangerous as they thought. Most people I think of it more as like a dirty habit, and they don't know that you can actually use that to to provide a healthier lifestyle, and it can expand your life expectancy, and that's years ahead before people realize that, but they're going to keep watching me doing what I'm doing.
And that's absolutely the case. I got to ask you because we had Glenn Jacobs. We went to Knox County, where Glenn Jacobs is the mayor, aka the Big Red Machine Cane. Just from your perspective, like, what kind of person do you think Glenn is? Because I thought, like, meeting him, I didn't know a lot about politics, and I still don't. Tend to stay out of that realm in most cases. But like meeting him, I was like, you know what? Like, I looked up, it said he's a libertarian. I looked it up, and I was like, man, maybe I'm that, because Glenn, he's a great dude, man. And what a fun interview this was. Obviously, you worked with him. I think you even got Kane to smoke one time on WWE Raw. So what kind of person? What do you think of Glenn?
He's a super cool dude. I've always been amazed that he could be so cool, genuine, down to earth, because he's been there so long. And it just seems like eventually, you know, you got to adapt to your surroundings a little bit, and it usually changes you a little bit in different ways with everybody. You know what I mean? Some people let it really go to their head, and other people just, you know, get less trusting because of the politics and shenanigans and everything. That's all part of the, you know, it's all part of the journey. But for him to be able to navigate those waters and be such a top guy for so long, and then still come across so cool and so nice to everybody in the dress.
Yeah.
You know, he's the last guy that's gonna pick on a new guy or anything. So I've always loved him for that, and he actually did kind of pull me into the political discussion years ago. Him and Val Venus both.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they were. Man, Rob, you gotta, you know, it was libertarianism. You say it.
Libertarianism? Are we libertarians here? I didn't know what it was till I met Glenn. So
Ron Paul was the guy they were turning me on to back.
Okay.
Both of them.
I do know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know who he was. Oh, come on, Ron Paul. He's like the yeah. And I mean, his son Rand is now, you know, a lot more in the. They're not even talking about him anymore, but his, you know, he's older. So now, you know, Rand was running, but Ron Paul was running for, well, he actually ran under the Republican flag. I don't know. I guess you have to pick one at that stage, but back in the day before I'd heard of him, they were saying this guy's for legalizing drugs. He's like against government. He's against, you know, like the taxes, and he wants to expose the banks and the federal income tax and where that money goes and this and that. And I started looking this guy up, and I was like, just like you, I was like, is that me? Like, I share those values.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that happened. And I mean, the whole thing has been, especially, I think we interviewed Glenn like right during COVID. And so that was like a hot button topic. And I was like, man, no, I definitely agree with him. And you know what? If not, he probably would have tombstoned me right there in the office there. No, he's a great dude.
By the way, you know, I don't identify with anything because RVD doesn't really do labels, you know.
Yeah, no, no, that would be so un-RVD of you. That's what makes you want to.
I'm a platypus. I got my own category.
You returned to AEW this summer, and I'll never forget hearing the music, hearing "Walk" by Pantera. Which, by the way, I don't know how much Tony Khan shelled out for that, but damn. What a moment. What was that experience like? Coming back, you wrestled Jungle Jack Perry and just had a great time. I mean, can't rule out a return to AEW, can you?
Right. No, it was super cool. And, you know, I've always enjoyed the surprise value of appearing in different companies, you know, jumping fences ever since the whole Mr. Monday Night 97 deal, you know, when we were doing the invasions and stuff. I've always thought that was cool. And, you know, it was a great opportunity to go and, I just realized, wow, you know, I've still been wrestling, not nearly as much as I used to. Instead of 5 times a week, you know, it might be 5-10 times a year.
Right.
Depending, because there's always offers and tours and things that pop up. Got a guy now that thinks he's going to start doing TV every week, but I'm not going to talk about that too much. But that's all AEW was originally. It was just, we'll see. Yeah. And boom, you know, they hit it off. But that match was a long time in the making Jack Perry wanted to work with me, and it's amazing that it ended up being, on the exact same dates they told me. Like at the beginning of the year, they were like, we're just looking at, possibly like September 2nd and 9th. So just mark that down, and boom, right on the money. So I was talking to Matt Hardy, and I was saying, since that match took, because everyone wants to know, when you're coming back, you got another match. Since that took a year in the making and I don't have anything we're talking about, I guess it won't be for a long time. And Matt said, no, it's not like that. Matt and Jeff were telling me, like, sometimes it's boom, last minute, whatever. So then boom, I did, get the message, hey, can you do Philly Saturday? And then boom, Grand Rapids, which was by Battle Creek. Not necessarily in that order, but anyway,
Yeah.
They've been one-offs. People want to know I don't have a long-term contract with AEW. And so far it's been awesome to get a chance. Like I said, I've been doing these matches, but most people don't see them because they're not on TV and stuff anyway. So a lot of people were surprised to see that I could still go. And that was so surprising to me to realize how much people age themselves and how much the regular basic thinker, how old they feel in their young 30s. And it's just like, it's kind of disheartening. And hopefully I can add some inspiration to people to not do that, because 50 sounded old when I was a teenager, but right now at 53, if you're talking about it, an old man, it's, I'm going to be looking around for, who you talking to? Maybe, I don't know. I got friends that are 60, 65, a lot of my friends, I consider 6 or 7 years a generation in wrestling, because there's me and everyone that's my age, Big Show and Chris Jericho, Goldust, and then 6 or 7 years ahead, that's where Sabu and Booker T and a bunch of those guys are. And I don't look at them like old men either. Even they might feel it, they might not. I don't know, but anyway, we're living longer now and getting more out of our lives. Thank God for boner pills. And
yes, this episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. Thank you. No, it's actually not. Hoping the next one is. Rob, not only that, but you've delved into the podcast realm, and I really want to bring this up because your show, one of a kind, you go live with it on YouTube, and it's also available wherever you get your podcasts as an audio format. I saw you had our good friend Scotty Riggs on, Scotty Antall, man, and your last episode, you were talking about Samoa Joe winning the AEW title. So what's it been like delving into this world when, a lot of wrestlers are doing that? Of course, Conrad Thompson has his big network of people. So how did you get involved in this, and how gratifying has it been?
I'm still asking myself that, because I've always been interested in sharing my insight. Years ago, I did RVD radio. I think maybe before anybody else was even doing podcasts. It was like 2008. That's on my YouTube page as well. Yep. Those old. And anyway, I like to talk about non-wrestling. I like to pick subjects that would expose celebrities as real people and talk about gun violence or abortion rights or death penalty or whatever. And I find it made some of my guests kind of feel uncomfortable sometimes, because they were on to try to promote something, and I was just trying to really make them a real person so people could relate. And I always go against the niche and aim for what's not my biggest crowd, whether that's a setback or whether that's a flaw or not. It's just where a lot of my interests are. I did RVD radio, I did RVD TV, I did RVD live, always done stuff like this. But for the last several years, I've been asked so many times about doing podcasts, and I always just said I would do it only if everything was already set up. Whereas, I don't want to build an audience and make a pitch deck and then look for sponsors. Like, if there's already guaranteed money, boom, boom, boom. And that was my stance. How I went from there to doing my own, I don't know, because I'm still wait, didn't I say I wasn't going to do this unless we had, which we're still pulling stuff in, sponsors. As a matter of fact, I just got a message that Bluetooth is going to be.
There you go.
Yeah, not Bluetooth. What is it? Yeah,
Blue Chew. I love that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's part of the stuff that I don't want to worry about, that I want my partners to worry about stuff. But I'm enjoying it. But, it's something which we do have to keep growing and drawing attention to. But I guess the best part, though, that always reminds me of the value of doing it is when people tell me how much I've helped them, whether it's in the comments or they see me at a signing, and they come at the table and they just, man, I enjoy your podcast. You talked about anger management. Man, you just hit me at the right time. I really need to hear that. Thanks, bro. Shit like that goes right to the heart, and it's like, fuck, how you gonna do that, and so just feeling like it's important to some people and that I am getting through and that they do appreciate the insight that I have to offer is really, motivated me to keep doing it. And, watching our audience grow is pretty cool too.
Oh, it's been great to kind of feel connected to you and to see that happen when there's other wrestlers that have been doing it. It's like, man, I want this from all my favorites, and to have you doing it. And I think on a recent episode, you talked about Shawn Michaels and how you guys weren't that cool at first and how you kind of mended fences. So, kind of give people a taste of what they might hear on the podcast. Kind of, if for those that didn't hear it, kind of take us through that maybe and what happened in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I know that I do have a one of a kind perspective. So I figured if I'm telling stories and stuff, they're definitely going to be different than what because there's so many wrestlers that have podcasts now too. And I'm hearing that a lot, which by the way, until like before COVID, I didn't think there was anything mafia related on YouTube anywhere that I hadn't seen,
it's all there now.
There's so much. Every mobster associate from any family ever has their own YouTube, and then other people posting stuff to counter what they're saying. And it's like, I could never, ever keep up with it now, but it's cool. What you're talking about, it's not that. So I never had any problems with Shawn Michaels. He was definitely one of the guys I looked up to before I got into the business as a fan. I watched the Rockers.
Oh yeah,
Marty Jannetty's old. You're old, man. No, I've been watching him since I was.
He's been through a lot.
I love Marty.
Yeah.
I just want to tell him I grew up watching you. We love telling each other that. But anyway, they were awesome. The Rockers, and I watched them wrestle the Orient Express, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, and I loved those matches. And so anyway, he was the goody good. But as even he himself will say, he carried a certain kind of vibe for a while around the dressing room, and I didn't like the vibe that came across to me as someone, as did some of the people that he hung out with, as I am better than thou kind of vibe. It really, looking down at you. It's how it felt anyway. So it wasn't one of my favorite dudes personally, even if professionally he's really good. But I've had so many people request because they love when I put my eye in, because I did this and said, I did this and said I was an imitated Shawn Michaels, with my eye in, and it's just one of the many talents I have. I can move my eyes around. So, but anyway, people love that, and man, do the Shawn Michaels, man, I love it. I'm glad everybody loved it and found it amusing, which I wanted them to find it amusing. And I picked a guy, that's a top guy to make it, more valuable statement. But I just pulled out a few incidences. Like right. One of them was when I inducted the Sheik into the Hall of Fame. Everybody was reacting pretty well to the speech that I was giving. I was up there at the podium with Sabu, but there was 2 sour grapes right in front of the podium. And one of them was Shawn Michaels and the other one was his partner. And they both were sitting there like this. The whole time, every joke, every whatever, they want to be laughing. And I looked, and anyway, Shawn came up to me the next day, and he meant it as a compliment. But like I said, I already felt like he was looking down at me. So he says, Rob, and we didn't even really talk that much, by the way. We weren't like, we didn't have a relationship where we were mostly like, he wasn't a guy that we just be like, hey man, so man, it's nice out. Have you been enjoying the sun? Have you gotten to the beach? We didn't have that relationship. So for him to come up anyway was something. But he was like, Rob, hey, last night you were funny and charming. It I didn't know you had that. And I'm sure he meant it constructively or whatever, but I kind of took it wrong, and so I kind of used that with my eye trick and got a lot of attention. And karma got me back because I whacked my head in 2016, and it wasn't even a hard whack at all. But the symptoms afterwards didn't shake off like they normally do, and I had double vision for a long time. I had to go to vision therapy. Wow. And of course keep up with X-rays and MRIs and anyway eventually I got back to testing normal with everything, but it gave me the bigger picture, which we never have the bigger picture. Even if you try to look at the bigger picture, it's bigger than that. But the broader you can get, the more information you can get. And life gave me a lot of information. And I think, man, that must have sucked so bad for him, having one eye stuck in, the headaches that probably came with that. My game was thrown so far off. I could close either eye and see fine, but together I would see two of everything. And man, it just threw my game off like so much. I was like missing appointments and that I was setting up to get checked out. And it wasn't because I was forgetful. It wasn't that I didn't have any symptoms like that from memory loss from this particular light little whack on the head. It had nothing to do with it. It was just that it threw my game off so much that I was like trying to catch up with everything. It was crazy. So anyway, yeah. I told Sean one time, hey, I just want you to know, you've probably seen this video. I told him a couple of times because the Cauliflower Alley Club, I said, hey, man, I hope he was getting an award. And I said, I hope I, didn't say anything, being a dick on the internet that offended you or whatever. He said, I never take anything on the internet serious or something like that. And then, or I never take anything from the boys serious. Same thing kind of said the second time. So it wasn't like he gave me any reason to think he was pissed at me or that we had a big beef. I didn't even know if he had seen it, but I assumed he had, because it got around there and it was a pretty popular and still is a pretty popular little video piece, but got a little footnote with it now, so it's something that I wouldn't do again and feels good about doing it. Now if someone says, hey, you do this, you got to do the Shawn Michaels, man. You got to. Come on, one time. I'll say, well, I mean, I'll show you my cross eyes if that's what you want to see. But, how about we don't call it the Shawn Michaels?
Well, that and many other great stories. It's on your YouTube channel, Rob Van Dam, Current AF. And you can get the podcast anywhere, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that. Rob, as we start to kind of wind down here, I got to hit you with our final four quick hitting questions, if you will. You give us whatever comes to mind. We were not going to do, obviously, a deep dive on ECW today, but, a little backstory. I didn't know. I live in Kansas City. I didn't get ECW TV, but I did get the magazines. And I'll never forget opening a magazine, and I saw the Sandman and Rob Van Dam with the TV title and the pose. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I got to find out. So my question to you is, my friend, simple question. For that time, ECW 96 to 01, were those the greatest, most gratifying years of your professional career?
Prospectively, yes. I had the most fun in ECW. If you're going to talk about the greatest years, you got to look at it from different perspectives. I made the most money, was the biggest star, was showcased worldwide. It's with WWE, and Impact was like the easiest job when I went there the first time in 2010 for the money. So I look at all three of those from different angles. Unfortunately, part of this being so fun was being hungry, building my name up, stuff that you never want to go back through and do again.
Absolutely. That amazing years. And that's a whole nother story for another show, because that was that requires a deep dive. But question two, Rob, since you got your name, it was given to you, to reference Rob, Jean-Claude Van Damme, favorite film, Kickboxer or Bloodsport?
I'm gonna go with Bloodsport.
Yeah, me too. Tournament fighting, You got it's just got the better music, the better montages, and the better villain. Venture to say in Chong Li. So.
Yeah, but definitely, I grew up a huge fan of both of them.
Yep. Question 3: what is your favorite band or like first concert you ever remember attending? Or
Man,
both?
I'm another one of those things that makes me one of a kind. I'm so not musical, so throughout my whole career, whenever I'm asked my favorite band, I always just pick friends to put over. I used to say the Cottonmouth Kings because
Sweet.
I did like their music, and I do like their music. That the reggae vibe. Well, they have a range, but anyway, but I don't. Okay, first concert. I just go like to accompany Katie, mostly and people watch, but I'm the last guy you're going to ever see dancing or singing. Singing if I'm trying to make someone laugh and joking, but damn, what I think maybe Cottonmouth Kings. That's I don't know.
I saw Pantera live last summer, and it was one of those things because they hadn't played in so long. I looked at like when they played Walk, I just was like, RVD. I mean,
was anybody doing the thumbs?
No, man. Oh yeah. I wish I had video of it to post up. I got some good stuff.
Awesome.
Last thing, Rob, we got some appearances to promote here, but my question about that is, and you can check them out on robvandam.com. That's where you can see where you're going to be coming up here, February, March, and at the end of March as well. You seem like a guy that the appearances, like that you're so laid back that you can handle that a lot more than say, an average person just sitting there signing autographs, meeting people, doing the pictures for 3-4 hours. Do you like doing the appearances? Do you have fun doing them?
I do. By the way, February 24th, I'm in Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah,
that wasn't on there yet.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if we have a poster yet, or I got to look into that. But I do. That's something that, again, made me stand out and made me a little different from the rest of the dressing room. Like I was always every day volunteering at the WWE shows to get out of the dressing room, to do the Make-A-Wish meets, they would have contest winners from, radio stations or whatever. And like Tim White, who just passed away, he would always say, Rob is the best. Every day he asked me. And really it was because I like the change of energy. I mean, you're in a dressing room where all these guys are farting on each other, bragging about, you lying to each other about whatever happened at the bar last night, and it's like, that's never been my thing, and I would always be the one that would go out in the parking lot in the back too, and the fans that are up against the fence. If I got time, I go around and take pictures with them and sign, because I enjoy that. I enjoy that exchange of energy. It's nothing but love. They appreciate it. They're going to keep those pictures forever. And I used to be that person. I used to do that outside the Kellogg Center Arena when I would watch WWF. I got pictures of me and Ultimate Warrior and the British Bulldogs and I don't know, probably everybody, British Beefcake, JYD, everyone from that time period. I have those, so I get it, so doing these conventions and stuff, it's that one-on-one, moment that I have with the fans, and it's not just stamping an autograph and saying move it, which I have been to those at WWE where I didn't even get to shake the fan's hand one time. There was such a big line, and I think it was Atlas Security that was just boom, 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 push them through. But it's not like that, and it's cool getting to meet everybody. Having them tell me, it's amazing. I mean, they'll tell me they bring up either photos from my past or they'll talk about certain things that I forgot about and they were there, and always cool. And I get really cool gifts too. And this is one of my favorites, by the way.
That's sweet, dude. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've seen security. Kevin Nash, man, he likes to talk to everybody. He's asking fans questions, and security does not like that very much. I've noticed.
Right. So, yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I don't like to keep people waiting in a big long line, But
people like to have a moment, and like you've just crossed so many, generations of fans that there's fans that are probably just now saw you. and AEW and
Right.
back, this summer. And there's people that were at the ECW arena in November of '96.
Yeah.
It all kind of goes together. But Rob, thank you so much for your time. It's been so enlightening. And again, I want to make sure everybody has the information to check out your show. It's RVD, one of a kind. And yes, Rob, you are one of a kind.
My channel is The Real RVD, and that's all of my social media handles too.
Yeah, Rob, thank you so much. We got a better photo op right here. I'll just screenshot this than we did back in Vegas, right?
Let's get that fucking bicep in there. Can you get the whole thing in there?
Mine's dwindled a little bit over the last few days because of my water fast. Hey, thank you so much.
Good luck with that. You said you're going 70 hours, or
72. So we got about an hour and 15 minutes left, and we're good to go.
And then what?
Then I'll find some soup or something and start light, and then glide back into it by this weekend.
Because otherwise you'd throw it up, right? If you eat too heavy, or I can't imagine.
That is what that is. That is possible. So
this your first time doing this?
It is. Wow. I'll let you know, man. It's been pretty good. I got to be honest. I like it. It's especially someone like you that's kind of more like Zen, and you might just like it. It's put me in some good places.
Keep me posted. Keep us posted.
Thanks, Rob. We'll talk soon, buddy.
All right, cool. Thanks
a lot. That was Rob Van Dam joining us here. Starcade Stories podcast. What a way to start off the year. And I want to remind everyone that this show this week brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook, download the app, use promo code Starcade, and use that for whatever you want to do this weekend, because we got some NFL action that is, the wild card round is heating up. We're ready to roll with that. So, it's been a tremendous start to 2024. Hope everyone's doing great out there. And we like to shake things up here on this show, whether it be the NFL, college football, entertainment. We like to go around. Rob Van Dam, a lot of wrestling on this show, as you know, over the years, from Kurt Angle, Diamond Dallas Page, Mick Foley's been on, Scotty Riggs, Lanny Poffo, before he passed away, Mark Marrow, and now the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. Thanks again for joining us here on Starcade Stories. Again, the website, starcademedia.com. That is the umbrella to everything that we do falls under. So go to starcademedia.com, download the podcast anywhere you get your podcast, and on our YouTube channel, Starcade Media, that's where you see it in video form. Always more fun, right? Thanks so much for joining us. Till next time on Starcade Stories.